We want
Has your business suffered financial hardship due to the COVID-19 coronavirus pandemic? Your business may be eligible for financial assistance. Hillsborough County is here to help local small businesses through these difficult times. The R3 Kickstart Small Business Program is aimed to help small for-profit businesses located in Hillsborough County that have suffered significant revenue and job loss due to the COVID-19 coronavirus pandemic, with an annual gross revenue between $40,000 and $20 million. Were opened before January 1st of 2020 and are open in some capacity. Find out if your business qualifies for up to $40,000 at hcflgov.net/R3biz or give us a call toll free at 888-393-7509.
Hi, I'm Hillsborough County Commissioner Les Miller. We're going through an unprecedented crisis as we navigate the COVID-19 pandemic. I understand your challenges, and I'm sympathize with the difficulties many of you are facing during this time. Hurricane season started on June 1st. It is important that you plan, prepare, and stay safe. This year, experts are predicting 40% more storm activity than a typical hurricane season. When a storm is identified, it's important to stay tuned to your radio or television and listen to local authorities. Stock your home and vehicle with emergency supplies and make plans in advance to protect people with special needs and pets. If evacuation orders are called, heed the warnings and follow special instructions related to sheltering during COVID-19 pandemic. I encourage you to visit hcflgov.net/stay safe for information on disaster planning, evacuation zones, shelters, and more. Make sure you and your family plan, prepare, and stay safe.
This is a battle we've never faced in my lifetime. I want to tell you about 416 of the most amazing people. Every day I get to see their skill, professionalism, and dedication. Their commitment to protect and improve the health of everyone in Hillsborough County. The last 2 months, they've been on the front line of a battle with a very dangerous enemy, COVID-19. And they've risen to the challenge in the most amazing, heroic way. Everyone has contributed, sacrificing their personal life, which they put on hold. They're making a difference for everyone they help, and every day I get stopped and told just how amazing they are. I'm proud and blessed to work with them, my second family.
Hillsborough County, along with local and federal health experts, are encouraging residents to wear cloth face masks to cover their nose and mouth when in public to help stop the spread of COVID-19. There are not enough surgical face masks for everyone, and available ones should go to healthcare workers and first responders. It's easy to make your own face mask out of common household items. The CDC and U.S. Surgeon General say you can use an old scarf, bandana, or make one using a t-shirt plus 2 rubber bands. Cut part of the t-shirt into a square, fold it from the bottom to the middle, then from the middle to the top. Repeat those steps one more time, then add a rubber band to each side. Bring each end to the middle, then secure around your face. They should fit snugly but comfortably. Cloth face coverings should not be placed on children younger than 2 years of age or people who have trouble breathing. The CDC emphasizes that while wearing a face mask, you should still practice social distancing, stay 6 feet apart from others, and continue other preventative measures such as frequent hand washing. We encourage you to visit hcflgov.net/stay safe for up-to-date information.
Is your local business or organization looking to give back to the community? Help keep our roads clean by joining the Adopt a Road program administered by Keep Tampa Bay Beautiful. Keeping our roads clean is a great way for team building as well as exposure for your business. Select the road your business wants to adopt and dispatch a team to remove litter and debris. Participants will receive 2 signs showing their organization's name as well as safety equipment and instructions for cleaning roads. You can help keep Tampa Bay beautiful by adopting your own road today. To learn more, visit hcflgov.net/cleanhc.
Hello, I'm WWE superstar Titus O'Neil, and today I'm coming to you as a neighbor. You owe it to yourself and those you love to get tested now. Get the care you need and protect your family. Hillsborough County is offering free coronavirus testing and no health insurance is needed. It costs you nothing to get tested. Visit hcflgov.net/stay-safe for more information and have a reservation made today. Share this with a neighbor, and let's come together as a community and keep fighting to get through this. Together, we will come back stronger. God bless.
So let's say that Tim here was returning to his vehicle only to find it missing. He may think it was either stolen or towed. Let's not worry too much, Tim. Hillsborough County wants you to know the rules and regulations should you find yourself stuck in this unfortunate situation. Here are a few rules and tips you should know. Rule number 1, permission to tow. Towing services need permission to tow from private property and must post signs with telephone numbers saying that the trespassing vehicles will be removed. If your vehicle is missing, look for a sign and call the number. Rule number 2, communication. As soon as your vehicle is delivered to the local towing facility, towing services must notify local law enforcement within a 30-minute time frame, and they must return calls from vehicle owners within 1 hour. Helpful tip number 1. Law enforcement can help motorists determine if their vehicle has been towed. If you don't see a posted sign, call the authorities on the non-emergency line. Rule number 3. Retrieving your vehicle during a tow. Most people are unaware that you could still retrieve your vehicle while connected to the tow truck. For a drop fee of no more than half the towing rate, the tow truck operator must release the vehicle to its owner. When it comes to payment, tow truck drivers must accept the following: debit, cash, cashier's check, or money order. Rule number 4, personal property. If the owner is unable to pay the drop fee and their vehicle is in the hands of the towing company, owners still have the right to retrieve personal property from their vehicle. Helpful tip number 2. Having a registration and title in your name will make it easier to recover your vehicle. Tow companies will not hand over the vehicle if you are not the registered owner, unless you have an original notarized affidavit signed by the registered vehicle owner. Remember, Hillsborough County is here to help you. For complete detailed information on towing rules and regulations, please visit us at hcflgov.net/consumer protection or give us a call at 813-635-8316.
Hillsborough County has teamed up with the Department of Health and other public health and safety agencies to address any impacts the virus may have on our local community.
To order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Welcome to the Hillsborough County Code Enforcement Special Magistrate hearing. When addressing the magistrate, please state your name, address, and speak clearly into the microphone. If you are planning to speak during this hearing, you must sign the speakers list located at the front door so your case can be called. Any person who decides to appeal a decision of the Code Enforcement Special Magistrate will need a record of the proceedings. The record is comprised of the testimony and evidence upon which an appeal is based. It is your responsibility to ensure a verbatim record of the proceedings is made. By law, you have 30 days from the date of my order to appeal my decision to circuit court. Presentations by the county, respondents, and opposition must be kept to a maximum of 10 minutes each. Special magistrate may recess at 12:30 and reconvene at 1:30 to conclude its business if needed. The basic process for this hearing is as follows. Ms. Meyer will conduct the oath of witness, and your case will be announced. Staff will present the evidence on their case. You'll be allowed to rebut that evidence and explain what has occurred. I will close the hearing and announce a decision. I may ask questions or allow other witness testimony if necessary. Depending on my order, county staff will later have to conduct an inspection to see if you have complied. If the staff believes you have not complied, you will receive a notice in the mail. By law, you have 10 days to contest that notice. Otherwise, it will be considered correct and a lien may be filed against your property. For false alarm or water resource cases, if you're not complied by paying the past due burglar false alarm fine or the water resources penalty fine within the time ordered, you will receive a notice in the mail. By law, you have 10 days to contest that notice. Otherwise, it will be considered correct and a lien may be filed against your property. If you have any questions, these rules are outlined in Hillsborough County Codes of Ordinances and Laws, Chapter 14, Article 2, Section 14. And before we begin, please silence all electronic devices.
First case is on page 1. Case number 1, for 2000-022. Here is James Douglas Bailey, location 413 East Lutz Lake Fern Road. We have service and no one is present.
Good morning. This incident occurred at the location of 413 East Lutz Lake Fern Road. The property is owned by a Jane Douglas Bailey. On February 6, 2020, Thursday at 4:46 p.m., officers noticed a hose running unsupervised and flooding the roadway on Lane, which is an adjoining road. No one was around. The notice of violation was sent on 2/20/2020. The default notice was followed up on 4/1/2020. And the green card for service was returned, signed by a John Bailey on the date of 4/3/2020. And
And we've had no communication with the owner other than the card signed on 4/3/2020?
yes, sir.
And when was the last time we were out at the property?
That was on February 6, 2020, the date of the incident.
Okay.
Fine is $100.
Okay. Anyone present?
No one is present to speak for this case.
Okay, then I will rule in this case. I rule in case WR 2000022, the Basin Evans Prison. I find the violator has failed to pay the water resources penalty fine as listed in Hillsborough County Codes and Ordinances. And I grant the violator 30 days to pay the water penalty fine imposed in order, if that payment is not made by that date, a fine of $15 per day be assessed.
Number 2, WR 200153. This case complied September 30th, 2020. Page 2, number 3, WR 200169. Ihab Gurgis and Jennifer Gurgis, location 2610 Night Rains Drive. We have service and no one is present.
Just waiting for the PowerPoint to load up.
No problem.
This case is located at 2610 Night Rains Drive. The owner of the property is Ahab and Jennifer Gurgis. This incident occurred on April 10, 2020, at 12:49 p.m. The officers responded to complaint to notice that sprinklers were going on in the rear of the home. This occurred on a Friday. It's no watering hours and a no watering day. Notice of violation sent on April 10, 2020. The default notice followed and signed by Jennifer and Ahab on May 15, 2020. The resident paid $10 of the fine and has still have an outstanding fine of $90.
Paid $10 of the $100 fine?
Records show that they paid $10 of the $100 fine and they still have an outstanding balance of $90.
Okay. No one present. Any other testimony?
No one is present.
Okay, I'll make a ruling. I rule on case WR 2000169 that based on the evidence presented, I find the violator has failed to pay the water resources penalty fine for illegal sprinkling imposed by section 111-7 Hillsborough County Codes of Ordinances and Laws, Part B, Public Utilities. I grant the violator 30 days to pay the water penalty fine imposed, or if that payment is not made by that date, a fine of $15 per day be assessed.
Is that $15, sir?
$15.
I'll make sure. Next case is number 4, case number WR 2004. The owner, Beatriz Dolorosa Rodriguez, location 10024 Harloway Hills Drive. We have service and no one is present.
Okay. This incident occurred at the location at 10024 Harloway Hills Drive. Property owners of Beatriz Dolorosa Rodriguez. On April 16, 2020, a Thursday at 6:49 a.m. It's a no watering day for this location. The code officer noticed the watering. Sprinklers on the front yard left side of the driveway. Now the photos are a little dark, but the officer's here to testify. You could see the water running down the driveway on that side. You could see the water. Let's see, notice of violation was sent on April 21st, 2020. The default notice was followed up on 5/27/2020. There's no mention of the green card being returned, but there is on September 30th, 2020, a resident contacted the code enforcement officers acknowledging receipt of the notice. There were several violations involved. The resident had paid $200 on the fine and was questioning why to still return, and it was explained to her that she still, because of the additional violations, owed $100 in addition to this case, and that has not been paid.
Okay, no other testimony, no one's present?
No one is present.
Thank you. I rule in case WR 2000304 that based on the evidence presented, I find the violator has failed to pay the water resources penalty fine for illegal sprinkling imposed by section 111-7, Hillsborough County Codes of Ordinances and Laws, Part B, Public Utilities. I grant the violator 30 days to pay the water penalty fine imposed. In order, if that payment is not made by that date, a fine of $15 per day be assessed.
That's it for ordering case. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just let me put this on the record. Page 3, number 5, case number WR 2000-463, complied on September 25th, 2020. And that's the end of the water cases.
Okay. Next case.
Okay. Next case is, page 6, number 10, under landscaping and natural places. Case number L115712. The owner is Alexander and Wanda Dalska Family Revocable Living Trust. The violator is CJ Sod, LLC. We have service, and we have someone who did sign on virtually. Is the person who signed up to testify virtually on?
I hear some beeping, so I think they're here.
I do not believe they are on.
Oh,
Okay, it appears they did not join the meeting. Since I've already called it, do you want to go ahead and?
Please stand by. Do we have a Linda on?
I'm sorry, Hernandez. I'm on for CJ side.
I believe that's for a different case, sir.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
No, they are not on.
Okay, do you want to hear this one? Okay, I'm going to go ahead and hear this one.
great. Good morning, Ms. Hull.
Krista Hull with the Development Services Department. I'm an environmental supervisor with Hillsborough County. This is case L 195712. Property owner, the Alexander Dauksa, Wanda Dauksa Family Revocable Living Trust. The violator is CJ Sod, LLC. Violation address is 1741 Elk Spring Drive, Brandon. Violation observed, unpermitted removal of an oak tree measuring a total of 18 inches DBH. Ordinance violated, section 4.01.03, first inspection, October 14, 2019. First notice, October 14, 2019. Last inspection, October 1st, 2020. 3 inspections total. Are you wanting to show the? There we go.
We need to connect Krista to the
It's on now.
video. Okay, there we go.
The first slide is the inspection slide from Stephen Eister, an environmental code enforcement officer. On October the 14th, 2019, he measured a tree that was removed without a permit. I will mention that we just got an inspection recently the other day that identified that the property owner, the Dauksa, planted 2 magnolia trees that were able to give credit 1 inch. So the staff recommendation has been reduced by 1 inch. Our recommendation is that tree service submit a compliant tree restoration or contribution agreement for 17 inches of trees within 30 calendar days, complete restoration or contribution to the restoration fund within 60 calendar days from receipt of an approved agreement. The violator, CJ Sod, LLC, will be the responsible party for resolving this matter with the county. The property owner shall be removed from the violation. Fines shall be issued for any failure to meet these timeframes.
Okay, Ms. Hull, have we had any communication or constant communication with the owner or the violator? It appears this violation is over 12 months old, so.
I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
Station?
Brian, could you repeat that?
Sure, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Go ahead.
Okay. I was just asking about our communication with either the owner or the violator during the 12 months. The initial violation was over a year ago, if I'm reading the screen properly.
Yes, the Dauxa family, it's an elderly gentleman that had hired CJ Tree Service, or SOD LLC, to do the work. They did not tell him about the permits. They went ahead and removed the tree. After I talked to the family, his daughter has been communicating with me, Diana, and because of the loss of the tree, their property is short on landscaping, so they agreed to plant two trees, which is what they did within this last week. I have not heard from CJ Sod in regards to what they were going to do, why they didn't pull permit. So they've been cited and they've been noticed. Now, I heard that they were going to show up virtually, but other than that, I haven't heard anything more from them.
Okay. Terrific. Any other testimony?
I'm there. I don't know if you guys are going to call upon me, but I'm the owner of CJ South, so.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Am I okay to speak, or do I wait?
We're going to have to swear you in, I believe. Ms. Meyer will take care of that, and then you'll be able to testify.
Okay, all right.
Mr. Hernandez, you wanted to testify for this one?
Mr. Hernandez has said that he's the owner of CJ Sod, and he would like to testify for this case.
Have him on screen so I can give him the oath.
Mr. Hernandez, can you please turn on your camera? Stand by.
Hello, can you see me?
Yes, we can see you. Just please stand by.
Okay.
Him now. Good morning, sir. Raise your right hand, please. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth,
yes.
the truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
State your name and address.
Cirilla Hernandez, 9110 Kentucky Date Court, Gibsonton, Florida, 33534.
Thank you.
Okay, sir. Go ahead. What would you like to tell us?
In regards to this case, I reached out to, after I got the first letter, after I got the first email or letter to the mail, I reached out to the owner several times. I drove by and never could get in contact with him. I believe attending and staying there. He first came to me, because I do commercial properties, and asked me to cut down the tree. I told him we'll trim it down, but he insisted to cut it down. I was under the impression that he had everything, so all I did was just do the job and do the work, and pretty much that's all I did. And as far as planting trees or oaks, I can do that. I just seen the preview saying that I have to take care of planting some trees or doing that. That's no problem with me. But yeah, I haven't heard nothing from him or anything like that. And I did reach out a few times to see what the issue was.
Okay, but you understand the violation, understand the issues.
Yes, sir.
And you're willing to work with the folks in the department. So as you can see, Ms. Hull listed a whole list of the violation and the penalty. And so you have ways to.
Yes, sir.
Okay. No problem. I'll go ahead and rule on that then and give you some time to get that done with Ms. Hull and her department. Okay.
Okay, so to get that preview again and see what all I need to do, do I go online and check it out, or because I seen that she got like a list of things?
I believe after I rule, Ms. Hull, we'll send that out. You'll be noticed.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
Is that correct, Krista?
Citizen Board Support will send a copy of the order to him.
Okay.
Okay.
Fantastic. Thank you, Mr. Hernandez. Thanks for coming on, and I appreciate you working with us.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Ms. Hull, can you put the staff recommendations back up on the screen for me, please? Or motion to the gentleman to put it back up? Yes, thank you. I rule in case L195712, based on the evidence presented, I find the property is in violation of Hillsborough County Codes of Ordinance List and staff's presentation. Furthermore, I concur with staff's recommendations in order that the violator submit a compliant tree restoration and/or contribution agreement for 17 dBH inches of trees within 30 calendar days, to complete the restoration and/or contribution to the restoration fund within 60 calendar days from receipt of the approved agreement. The violator, CJ Sod LLC, will be responsible for resolving this matter with the county, and the property owner shall be removed from the violation. Failure to meet any of these timeframes will result in a penalty of $100 per day. Okay.
Thank you. Next case is on page 8, number 13. Number L206033 in the Junk Removal Inc. The location of the violation is 3702 Motorsports Drive. We have service, and we have someone here to speak for this case. If you're here for this case, come up to the podium. Good morning. Raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
And state your name and address.
Daniel Solomon, 5204 Abbey Park Drive, Tampa, Florida.
Thank you.
Krista Hull with the Development Services Department. This is case L206033. Property owner and violator is junkremoval.com Inc. Violation address is 2702 Motorsports Drive in Tampa. Violation is unpermitted land alterations and disposal of fill materials that alter surface waters in the area. Ordinance violated is section 4.01.03. First inspection, April 30th, 2020. First notice, May 6th, 2020. Last inspection, September 11th, 2023 inspections. Inspector, Mr. Rout, should be online.
I believe he is.
I would like him to assist on these photos if he can speak up.
All right, I'm here.
Good morning.
Morning. There's two folios that the gentleman owns side by side. The neighbor called a complaint on both of them. One, there was some tree removal going on, and the other one, some land alteration. The tree removal was actually a permitted activity, and he also had a certified arborist sign off on House Bill 1159, proving the work. And so basically became a land alteration case. The property had some wet low areas, and there was some high areas. So after he cleared some trees that were hazardous on the site, he leveled it out. He didn't realize he was creating a land alteration violation, but this is just the area. It's I would estimate it to be about 2 acres, and he leveled out some of the areas. After I talked with him, he met me on site and told him that he needed to turn in a land alteration permit and get the work that he did approved. He's been very agreeable to it, and we've been in pretty good communication. I've been on site a couple times. He said he had hired an engineer to get the permit turned in, and he was dragging his feet and not getting it done, or some issue there, so he decided to do it on his own. So I don't know where we're at in that process, but he is working on doing the permit to get the land alteration approved.
Photos I'm showing here are the ones that were taken on May 21st by Mr. Ralph. To clearing and leveling the land. These are photos that were taken in July 30th. Additional improvements have been made. The neighbors have complained that this has increased their drainage.
And no change on our September, oh, I'm sorry. I was ahead of you. September 11th, no change.
No change. It's just there's a lot of vegetation growing back over the area now, and I did tell him that we wanted to stabilize the area. So I think he did seed some of it to stabilize it until we could get to the point of approving the land alteration permit.
Understand. And do we know what the typical time frame for that is, assuming submittal?
The submittal of a permit application and the review process can run up to 30 to 60 days.
Okay.
Submitted properly and acceptable by the stormwater team. Do we have the complainant sign on or come in?
Only person as far as I know.
I'll go on to the staff recommendation. The county staff recommendation is that the property owner submit a natural resources permit application to address the disposed fill materials or grading and stormwater requirements for the land alterations on the property within 15 calendar days. Include in the application a professional engineer's plan, provide an as-built plan of the final grade elevations, obtain the natural resource permit after receipt of an application within 60 calendar days, finalize the requirements of the permit within 60 calendar days, and fines applied for failure to meet any of these historical timeframes.
Okay. Let's hear from the gentleman that's with you this morning. Good morning.
Yes, all I was doing just cleaning my property. I do understand that what James was saying, I was altering the terrain, but I was just cleaning it up. I do want to get I want to develop it eventually, and I need to get a topography. So that's a process that I got to pay someone that does survey, and I got to pay an engineering. You know, I need more than 15 days to submit that permit. It's going to take at least a couple of weeks for me to try to get the survey done, this land survey. So I just need more time. It's not, you know, an easy process to come in compliance.
Sure, I understand that. Would 30 days be acceptable for you to get that done and in?
I think so, 30 days to submit that permit, and then possible, you know, 60 days after that to try to get the stuff rectified.
Yeah, I think Ms. Hull's timelines for outside the original submittal are pretty solid. So, but I do understand your concern in regards to, you know, getting it in the first time. And it sounds like from our inspector that you've been incredibly cooperative and tried to do it the right way as far as getting the trees removed. So I'm totally okay with working with you to get that done. Just understand that there is some water impact to your neighbors. So the reason for the 30 days and keeping the other deadlines the same is just to try to keep this moving so that so it doesn't impact them further.
Good question, sir.
Sure.
What do you plan to develop this property? I want to be sure you're getting the right permit application.
Good point.
Eventually, I'd like to rezone it. I mean, it's a pretty big parcel, almost 5.5 acres, so I want to try to get a rezone.
But currently, right now, what do you plan to do with it?
Right now, I'm just trying to clean it up. That's my main process. Just clean it up and just, you know, whenever I could rezone and go with that route. But right now, I just want to clean it up and just make sure it's, you know, it's level in the sense that, you know, the water, it's not going to anyone, it's staying in my property.
Okay. What do you expect to use it after you get it rezoned?
I'm not sure. Maybe I sell it. I don't know. It costs a lot of money to get it developed. So just probably something too big that to chew on. I might sell it. I might develop it. I don't know. I'm debating right now.
Understand. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay. Is there any other further testimony? I think someone mentioned we might have complainant on, but not on.
No one else is here for this case.
Okay. All right. Based on that, if you can put the staff's recommendations back up for me, please, I'll rule on this case. I rule in case L206033 that based on the evidence presented, I find the property is in violation of Hillsborough County Codes or ordinances listed in staff's presentation. Furthermore, I concur with staff's recommendations and ask the violator to submit a natural resources permit application to address disposed fill materials and stormwater requirements for the land alterations on this property within 30 calendar days, including the application, a professional engineer's plan, and an as-built plan of the final grade elevations. Furthermore, to obtain a natural resources permit after receipt of application within 60 calendar days, and then finalize the requirements of the permit within 60 calendar days. Failure to meet any of these timelines will result in a fine of $100 per day.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next case.
Thank you, sir. One moment, I'll call the next case.
Thank you. Big smiles in the audience, ladies and gentlemen. It is Friday. We made it.
Is on page 4, number L 185. Is William Crotty and Rhonda Sue Crotty, location 3325 Mayday Drive. We have service, and we have several people signed in to speak on this case. If Mr. and Ms. Crotty come up and take the oath of witness. Because we'll hear from the county first, but I'll go ahead and swear you in. Okay. Everyone who's going to speak, raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
And I need each of you to state your name and address for the record.
I am William Donald Crotty, 3325 Mayday Drive, Plant City, Florida.
Rhonda Sue Crotty, 3325.
Can you get closer to the microphone?
Rhonda Sue Crotty, 3325 Mayday Drive, Plant City, Florida, 33565.
Thank you.
Douglas Young, 3325 Mayday Drive, Plant City, Florida.
Okay. It's your turn.
Krista Hull with the county's Development Services Department, Environmental Supervisor, case L 185118. Property owner and violator is William and Rhonda Crotty. Violation address 3325 Mayday Drive, Plant City. Violation, unpermitted land alterations and disposal of fill materials that alter surface waters in the natural drainage area. Ordinance violated is section 4.01.03, first inspection. September the 19th, 2019. First notice, July 9th, 2020. Last inspection, September, actually, it was October the 1st. 3 inspections total. We have an inspector, Jim Rauch, online that can assist with these photos.
This is the west side of the property. There was a depressional area historically there. One of the first complaints was that they brought some mulch and some fill into that area. You're seeing the low area where the water's standing there. Next slide.
Shows the aerial, historical aerial, which shows that low area before the house was built. And then the next slide shows a Google aerial with the house existing, and you can still see the depression, low area. When it's holding water, it will look darker, and when we have a drier season, it won't look as dark. Some pictures that were sent to us from the Karades to identify the work that they were doing, because it was reported in July they were doing more activity. They showed us they were putting in a French drain in that low area, my understanding. And so this is what they were trying to do to help address the drainage on their property and hopefully provide slower drainage off their property so it wouldn't affect their neighbors. This is pictures that were provided to us. I wanted to show you what the lay of the land looks like, and the purple or pinkish purple square shape is the Karades property. And running along here, you can see my cursor or not.
No.
It's hard to tell. If I can use a zoom in. There. Zoom in. All right, if you can see the green arrows, that is Mayday Drive. And as you go down Mayday Drive and you see the green slashed areas, that is the wetland areas that the drainage tends to go that way over time, especially during rainy season. And with this picture, Jim, you could explain this one?
I'm trying to see which picture that is. I believe that's on the east side of the property, close to Avenue B. There is non-maintained county property there that's called Avenue B. Their drainage kind of runs into that area, and it's been an area of contention between the complainant and them. They've done some French drains that lead up to that area and adjusted some swales a little bit in that area. The property drops about 38 feet in elevation from the northwest corner of the Karades property, and the general flow is to the south, or from the southwest to the northeast. We'll have another slide that shows the drainage arrows of which way the drainage is going. And most of their property drains to this corner of the property. So whether they did alterations,
and it is my understanding this is mainly the right-of-way. So the case is not about this. The right-of-way is looking into ensuring that the improvements are done in accordance to the county right-of-way rules, and that is going to be a separate issue. But this is one area that has been evaluated by the county stormwater engineers. On their property, it was identified that a load of gravel was brought in.
This is where they were putting the French drains in. This is the French drain on the south side of the house, the front of the house, or the north side, sorry, the front of the house. And it runs from east to west in the front of the house to help with the drainage. They've got several downspouts from the house that run into that also. And the gravel was placed in and then the ground placed back on top.
Slide does show how the drainage does flow across the properties in this area. The McDowell's, the Karate's property is the house is that red rectangle. That is their house. And you can see Mayday Road. Highlight it, there we go. I can bring it in, you can see Mayday Road. You can see how the arrows show everything needs to get to the wetlands eventually. And there is some other ponding areas that the arrows show that they go to different pond areas or low areas in that area. Well, let's let you speak when I'm done, please. Thank you. Any comments here, Jim?
No, I was just showing with this slide the general drainage of the property and the flow. It is a pretty heavily steep property, and this is where the water's going, regardless of the improvements. They had some issues with the water coming to the house and ponding pretty heavy at the front of the driveway where the low spot is on the left side at the 118 elevation. Their driveway is just to the right of that, and they were getting pretty heavily backed up there.
We also have an engineer online too. I don't know if he's available, Rick Cabrera. Did he come online?
Yes, Rick, are you there?
Our Development Services Department professional engineer and certified floodplain manager. And he has been assisting us on evaluating this case.
Rick, you are on mute.
There you go. Can you hear me now?
We can hear you. Can you please enable your camera?
Sure.
Good morning.
There we go. Was having a little technical difficulties a little earlier. I think I've resolved them. So good morning, everyone.
Easier if you could help explain this PowerPoint picture that I have up in regards to how the water flows.
Just a moment, Rick. Can Rick come back on screen? Good morning. I think that you were not present when we did the oath of witness.
Oh.
If you would raise your right hand, do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
We don't hear you.
I do.
Could you repeat that one more time, Rick? Go ahead, Rick.
There we go. Can you hear me now? I do. Hello?
Great, we got it.
Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
And your name and address. Thank you.
Rick Cabrera, Hillsborough County Development Services, 601 East Kennedy Boulevard.
Rick, I have up on the PowerPoint screen the elevation map, which also identifies the local floodplain. The red rectangle is the Karate's property with showing where their house is located. And I think it would help that everybody that the magistrate understands how the lay of the land works.
Well, just as Jim described, the property is at its highest elevation, or the Karate's property, along the southern property boundary, with the highest end being at the southwest corner. It does, in general, fall in elevation to the northeast. There is a depressional area, at least by the information we have available, located, as Jim indicated, just to the west of their main driveway, which does collect some surface water from the property, and eventually, once it's reached its limit, it tends to overflow and move out towards the east, generally following Mayday Drive.
I appreciate that. I'll probably invite you on a couple more pictures.
Okay.
I'd like to show the most recent photo that was taken on October the 1st by Jim Rout. And Abdel Lorfi, which was another stormwater engineer, was in attendance with this inspection. So Jim, could you tell us what happened, what you found out there?
Okay, the picture of the house on the left is this south side of the property. They installed a French drain running along that. They said they were getting water and heavy rains that were coming up into the house and the patio doors. So they did a little bit of a swale there and installed a French drain. And where I'm standing, where I'm taking the picture from, is actually the county property, Avenue B. They drained this, the French drain runs along the back of the house and then curves around and runs to the east side of the house to about the northeast corner of the house. It's about probably 30 feet from the house. It comes out just before Avenue B. And while Abdel and I were there inspecting it, we know the French drain was working pretty well because there was a small area in the dirt where the water was actually bubbling up through like a spring where the well terminated. So it was pulling groundwater from the north side of, or the south side of the house to the east side at Avenue B. The picture on the right is just looking down Avenue B. Where the grass area is the Karate's property. And they adjusted the property there a little bit because there were some high areas. So just to allow the water to flow better across that area, they did do a little grading on Avenue B. As far as I believe from what I understood the testimony. This is also taken at the recent visit. It shows again that that entire area, it's actually expanded the area that was holding water. The French drain appears to be working well there. They have an entrance to the drain at the southwest corner of the house where the water was coming down and flooding their garage. So they put an entrance there and piped it underground with the French drain and goes into that large 20 by 20 French drain pond that they showed pictures of earlier. This is that area. This is the area above the pond. It's still holding water in that area. So it shows that there is a bit of a depressional area still there. The house elevation is at 120 feet. And this is about 118 feet, so it does have a positive flow to the area where it did before. This is just pictures of the same area, just farther back, and the left picture is hard to see, but the entire area in the grass was holding water, and you can see a little bit farther there. I've got another photo too that there's probably about a 2-acre area that's been holding water now in that front west property. This is pictures of where they installed the French drains. You can see the gravel. They put about, he said, I believe 11 inches of gravel along the house where the rainwater, some of it catches. There's catch basins there that come at each one of the downspouts, and it runs in through underground piping with also gravel into the French drains that run along each side of the house. This is just another panoramic view of the swale area between the back of the house and where it flows into Avenue B off to the right, where Mayday is at the very front right corner of the picture, or the back right corner of the picture where the trees are. That's where Avenue B terminates into Mayday.
Donuts in the record. Cool, thank you. They're 6 feet apart.
I went ahead and added the last aerial view or elevation view of the property that see the house in the low area, which is where that French drain area has been located, and also connected around the house so that it pipes out. It is my understanding this was a very significant French drain system, and we understand that was beneficial to the property, but it does require that the county engineers need to look at it and evaluate it and ensure how it impacts the right-of-way areas and the adjacent properties. And once they are able to look at it and evaluate it, then we'll be able to sign off on it. I'm going to go ahead and mention our staff recommendation. I'm sure we'll go back to it after you listen to everybody else, but just to be aware of the county's position at this point is that we're asking the Karates to submit a natural resource permit application that will address these land alteration activities on their property within 30 days. And include in that a topographic survey that will provide spot elevations in that project area that they did their work, and a detailed site plan that will include information about the fill, the piping system, and how the surface water control measures were installed on the property. We'll evaluate it, and hopefully they can obtain a natural resource permit after receipt of the application within 60 calendar days. And if there's any additional stormwater requirements, those need to be finalized within 60 calendar days. We always provide an alternate choice, which would be remove everything. I don't think that's a good choice, but that's always been.
I can't imagine that's going to be acceptable to the owners. So
yeah. Things can't be complied in a timely manner.
Okay.
That is the county's presentation.
Terrific. Let's hear from the landowners. Hello?
Not sure I can hear her.
You need to talk into the microphone.
I'm sorry.
Can you put up that with all those arrows? I can take a picture of that, because that is an inaccurate picture of the way the water flows on our property. And we have flooding videos that I had on that thumb drive.
I can send you a copy of this. You don't have to take a picture.
That would be super.
Yeah, I can, after the hearing, I can send you a full copy of this presentation.
Very good, because you have quite a few pictures, videos on that thumb drive that prove those arrows are incorrect. The water back floods on our property, and it does not make it to the wetland. Okay.
Good morning.
To make one recommendation in terms of your recommendations, if we could change the 30 days to 60 days and 60s to 90, I'd really appreciate it. As I will explain here very quickly, as you know, we have a very long history, and we have an even longer history with Mr. Cabrera. So there are a lot of things I'd like to get addressed in that permit, just beyond the French drains. And, you know, we have trouble returning calls from county people. I mean, they're busy, but, you know, I expect next day I'm flooding. And obviously you don't call back the next day. So I think with the scope of our problem, which will show up in the video that I'm going to show momentarily, that if we could just get those to 60s and 90s, we'd all be happy, and we'd all be able to work within that. Okay, my presentation starts this way. 1999, when we moved into our home, there were 3 open land packages in our drainage basin, all of them lower elevation properties. 2 of those properties are in the 100-year floodplain. They have a lot of restrictions on them, which I think when we start this permitting process is going to be make for an interesting conversation. One of them has a well-established wetland, and we basically until 2004 had no flooding. And the only time we had a flood is garbage trucks and building trucks and whatever made a collapse of Mayday Drive. We had Rhonda storms out to our house to assess the situation. County repaired the damage that was done to the road, put reflectors up, and that problem has never reoccurred. In 2004, the reason that I said at the time when you had the flow diagram, and I appreciate that that was put together so you could see the arrows, because that slide is wrong, okay? That water cannot flow off of Mayday Drive to that depression. Historically, that's exactly where it was. But a 200-foot earthen dam was built there, okay? All that water was diverted, turned our road into our private road into a river. The two other lands, the one to our east, that slide is wrong too. Water can't flow over Avenue B. We used to have water, as we showed your inspectors yesterday. You can see the contour map, it just flows right in a certain direction, and there's a road there. There's also, because of Hurricane Irma, there's an oak tree across Avenue B, 100% of the water coming down. The video, not to be able to show it today, complete video showing all of that water being diverted onto my property. I have to account for that water when it gets down to the end of the road. Our neighbors, we dug a trench because your engineers, Mr. Lofrey and Mr. Warner, said, if you don't dig a trench here, you're going to flood. And the county isn't going to reimburse you if your $1 million house floods. Okay? So we dig a trench. And what did our neighbors do? They put a concrete dam at the end of that trench. And as you'll see in a minute, almost 80% of our water in our flood basin goes right down that trench. And it backs up into our front yard. Never did that before. So now our house is in danger if somebody plugs that unpermitted. Again, not outside of this because it's a right-of-way issue. But the reason we're doing this is that your guys, we quoted them, trying to protect your property. That's what they kept saying to us. Yes, they kept saying, we're getting it. You're trying to protect your property. And that's what we're trying to do. We're going to retain more water than we had before. Instead of having a duck pond out there that didn't suck into the ground or it took months to suck into the ground, 2 to 3 days, we're, can't mow it, but it is dry and it's in the ground. So it's staying on our property. It's not going anywhere else. Anyway, in 2019, after 750 feet of dams have been built in our neighborhood, all funneling water to our property, the right-of-way request 25941 was issued. And what it did is in the middle of the sole flood exit for our neighborhood, they elevated the land. So when you look at that drainage thing and it shows an elevation of 118 feet, the county did the survey. I've asked multiple times for the survey results, but that hump in the road, that ain't 118 feet, 120, 100. Matter of fact, my question to the county, and I've written it in multiple service requests, is that hump higher than my permitted elevation of my home? That's how big our issues are with the county. As you can see, the culverts over there, hardly any water's going to it. You can see this is my driveway. My property is taking all this water on for the entire neighborhood. And I've got flooding off to the right of that, which is, again, my property. Take that back. That's county right away. That's Avenue B that then floods up to my property. And that little detention pond out there, hey, that's not maintained. And it's got a real tiny culvert at the end of it. So, my problem is that the right-of-way request that's coming later, you said that, Chris, perfectly accurately. We got an issue, we're dealing with Larry and right-of-way on that right-of-way permitting, on that particular issue. But what we have today, we tried to make our lawns mowable. So when we took the trees, I had massive trees that were breaking down our walls on our property. So we took those out, re-landscaped for that. There's a picture of one of the stumps for one of the trees that we had to take out because it was damaging our walls. But anyway, the process of what we've done, and again, without permit, we're not arguing that. Your guys were real good yesterday. And Adele, real good in explaining why it was important, because we thought, hey, we're just trying to retain water. Who could ever complain about that? It was inconceivable to me, unfortunately. But we do. We need permits. We understand why, and we will get them. But our sole intention was, if we don't do something, we spent $27,000 protecting ourselves from flooding. And again, our houses, you can see Zillow estimate on it's $1 million. And the next time that it rains, a hurricane comes, I am almost certain that we will flood. $1 million home. And again, got all these 100-year floodplain properties around us, and they're elevating how in the world can they do it? I don't know. But anyway, that's the reason I asked for the extension in time, and I thank you for letting me run over.
No problem.
Show my video.
Presentation.
I apologize. The video is 58 seconds, and it shows the water as you're driving east on Mayday Drive, unmaintained, private road, and we're driving right to that hump that Rhonda put the picture up that goes along with the video. You can see the very same angle, except the video makes a right-hand turn into our driveway, so you can see that our front yard is now underwater. I'm sorry, thank you.
We are trying to get the video up right now. Please stand by.
No problem. I have no audio.
Then she has videos that are different, but let's let her do her thing. Thank you.
While we're waiting, Krista, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Do you have any concerns in regards to extension of timelines that the Crotties are asking for?
I would like to wait after I hear from everybody. I'm acceptable at this point.
Okay, thank you.
Your one video that you want.
Okay.
Let me see if I can get it to restart so we see it from the beginning. Okay. Got it started. Let me know when to hit play. Bad connection.
Yeah.
They're ready now? Close that.
Yep.
Hopefully they'll come back. For that. Now this. Do it now? Ready? You want to speak? Ms. Crotty?
This is coming down Mayday Drive to the east, and you can see the water is going to the east. It's going to Midway Gardens property, and then it's also going down our driveway toward our house. And this is a very light rain. It's not a hurricane. It's not heavy rain. It's not a tropical storm. It's just a very light rainstorm. And then I had to make a very short video because it's something that wouldn't go on this It's, the water's going toward midway through that unpermitted trench, crossed Avenue B, which is not maintained. We've put in and see the fern garden at the end of Mayday Drive. And that's Mr. McDowell's property where that white gate is. No water gets across that hump where the culvert is that was just put in for ROW 259-41. And all the water from our entire neighborhood comes down and comes, most of it, 80% of it comes into our property. That's why that, none of it goes, hardly any of it goes to the wetland. And that's why this picture, I'm sorry. That's why the picture that I have here that shows this wetland right here in McDowell's land from the aerial shot is water.
I have video of that.
There's water here.
Their property has got 8 to 10 inches of water and his has.
Just a second.
When it's your turn, please.
Just
Have
a
a seat.
second. There's water at Dr. Price's pond, but there shows hardly any water here at Mr. McDowell's property. So
I understand.
there's a good deal of videos on that thumb drive. If you want to look at them at another time, if the magistrate would like to look at them. We have suffered. This is our retirement years that we've spent trying to deal with this flooding. We would like to downsize. We have $1 million home. We would like to sell and downsize. This has caused a lot of contention between the two of us because it's hard to deal with. And we would just like to sell this home and move to a smaller one. And
here's our contention in terms of that diagram with the arrows, that the historic water flow, I'm using a FEMA viewer to do the measurements, 1.2% grade, dropping 665 feet at what used to be there. Now we have 225 feet of detention to the southeast. And I can't, since it's all private property, we assume that it comes back, that there's 190 extra feet just before the water gets there, if it does get there. So on a light rain day, the wetland isn't going to get water. So we don't understand from the beginning why this was able to be altered. That's historical, you know, as gravity flows kind of logic that the Supreme Court uses here. That's what happened. 665 feet, 1.2% grade doesn't exist anymore. There's a dam there.
And Mr. McDowell hauls in dirt in front of his wetland. And we just found out yesterday that I knew he was in 100-year floodplain, but we just found out yesterday that he's not supposed to haul in dirt. Well, we haven't complained when we see truckloads and truckloads of dirt being hauled in there. But we are not that type of person. We don't like to cause trouble. But when we have been done this to, it's time to say something. That's why I took this picture. I'm sorry I moved it. That's why we took this picture. And I took this picture back in January.
If you can, we'll take that picture in and we'll talk to the McDowells about that because yes, there is requirements about fill within a floodplain that we can discuss that further. But at this point,
that's just one load of dirt. There's another one there that's covered with moss. It's been there so long.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Okay.
Did you want to show anything else? I'm able to open the file. Or would you like to wait?
I appreciate everything.
Okay, let's hear what the other parties want to present, okay?
Thank you.
All right, thank you, ma'am.
Okay, anyone who's going to speak, to take the oath, please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
And state your name and address.
My name is Joe McDowell, 3312 Main Drive, City, Florida.
Thank you.
Linda Nakanishi, 3312 Media Drive, Plant City, Florida.
Thank you.
Good morning, Amy Brennan with the law firm of Mansfield, on 109 North Brush Street, Florida 601. I have a slideshow that should.
Do you want me to bring up your PowerPoint?
Yes, I believe
was it this one?
Yeah, and it's the final copy.
Okay.
Good morning to everybody. Thank you for letting us have some time to share with you our concerns. This has been a long process, and there's been about 560 to 700 hours of unpermitted work done on 3325 Mayday Drive, and the water does flow to us. We just want to be very clear. There's water coming into our property, and we have an expensive house as well. So this is not just one family who lives in a isolated shell. This is many families be affected by one family.
You want me to start with this slideshow, ma'am?
Yes. So we would like to request that the county has a copy of this PowerPoint, and they have a copy of our testimony as evidence.
Yes, we will be keeping this.
We would like to recommend that the low-lying area be restored. It was unpermitted work to begin with. They were cited in 2018 for filling it in with fill and debris. They did not work with the county at that time to rectify the problem. Because of COVID, it ran over, and now here we are again with no ability to have any kind of legal action against them as they tore up their property and filled in the low-lying area. They live in a pit. They live at the bottom of a hill, and their house was not built up high enough. This is a result of unfortunate circumstances for them becoming unfortunate circumstances for us. We do not want any extension of time. If they cannot permit within 30 days, we want them to remove the fill.
Did you want to go through these PowerPoint?
So, would you like to go first?
Yeah.
Yes.
There you go.
So in the past, Mr. and Mrs. Crowdy have historically pumped water off of their property to us across the front of their yard, and they usually did it at night. They also pumped around the back of their house directly onto the burner property with pipes and hoses. So they also dug trenches in their property which drained directly onto the road. And as they reported, that all goes to the intersection between 3312 and 3435 and 3325 Mayday Drive. So that water definitely comes to us. Instead of placing a retention pond, as they had Mr. Sweat do further up the road, they have continued to fill in the west side of their property with mulch, dirt, and other tree debris. In response to the flooding caused by the diverted water, we worked with Mr. Ed Werner to pay for a culvert to drain the water at our property. In 2018, the property was flooding again. So why wasn't the culvert working? When the county came out to inspect the property last year, They took a photo of the L-shaped culvert. Someone had plugged the side of the culvert that drained our part of the property at that intersection. The other side of the culvert was realigned to drain the property at 3325 Mayday Drive. In addition, if you see that hose running from the west side of the Crotty's property at night, there's water that's being pumped directly onto that intersection. So how did this water diversion affect us? We worked with the county to obtain a permit to place a second culvert at our own expense. So now we've placed 2 culverts for the water that's being diverted in order to mitigate the effects of water being directed off of Mr. and Mrs. Crotty's property. Even though they had been notified in 2019 that they were not to bring in fill or mulch, Mr. and Mrs. Crotty brought in mulch with trees incorporated. These piles, if you look at that truck, are pretty large piles, and those are not the only piles that they had. So because they did not work with the county last year, they were cited again on July 15th for unpermitted disposal of mulch material located within the natural drainage area. Here's a photo of the mulch that was for 9 months on the back of 3325 Mayday Drive, which is also a violation. This wall of mulch was about 75 feet long by 10 feet wide. Mulch was placed on the west side of the property in a low-lying area and in the old trench. There was no mulch around the trees whatsoever, which is what they had told the county they were doing. So you'd have to have 500 trees to use all that mulch. Fill was also placed repeatedly on the west side of Mr. and Mrs. Crotty's property. Where did the fill come from? Numerous loads of fill were placed on there from the north, east, and south sides when they dug their French drains. And when they dug big 10 by 15 feet pits in the right-of-way, they put the fill onto the west side of their property and drove over it and over it. 6 to 7 days a week, they worked for 8 hours a day, bringing the fill over and riding over and over it. So how does that affect us? Chronic water diversion contributed to one of our mature oak trees falling over. Mr. Struckengauss had come over and told us that we were taking on the water and our trees would fall if we did not do anything to protect them. We told the county that, they're aware. So chronic water diversion also led us to pay for 2 culverts to decrease the effect of the diverted water. Mr. and Mrs. Crotty did benefit from it because the water, as they say, runs down Mayday Drive and it goes to us. So our culvert takes it away from that intersection for them. So due to recent changes on the property, our front yard is very boggy. We may or may not have to put a driveway through there, depending on how bad the rainy season is. That is something new for us with this amount of rain. We usually don't have a bunch of mud in our property. Our backyard is now shortened. There's about 40 to 50 feet of land that we are losing. We're going to move the fence that's now sitting in water. And now we can't really mow effectively. We have to wait and time it or hand mow because the tractor, it's just too wet for the tractor. So even though their water is being diverted underground, it's going to us. So we're becoming a retention pond for Mr. and Mrs. Crotty, as are the Verners. They still have a trench going from the south of their property to the Verners' property with a large area of water there. And also with the French drain, it's just increasing the rate at which we receive the water. And I believe that Mr. and Mrs. Grimmer sent a video showing the water running down the right-of-way. So we request that the retention pond be placed on the west side of 3325 Mayday Drive. They are not living in a bubble. We are receiving their water, and we are now their retention pond. The private property owners did not get permission for any of this work, nor did the county. They should have to reverse their work and start over. Too much work has been done for anybody to keep track. I gave the county a schematic of what was done. I think it's just impossible for them to get it done. But if in 30 days they can't reverse what they've done or give you a plan, they need to take all that fill out. We shouldn't have to come back to tell you. You know, twice they've been violating the same problem, bringing in mulch, and that's should not be our fault. You know, we don't sit in a low-lying area. We don't have a house that's so low. They shouldn't give us that water. We should not have to put up with this. We are private property owners. If we had a house right next to us where Ed Werner has property, we would not be having this discussion because other people would be flooding. We're trying to tell you that their water is affecting us.
Is there something else you would like to show besides that slideshow?
No, we just had a video of them. We didn't do the right of way.
Yeah.
It was just the mulch. But we definitely have photos showing mulch was brought in, even if they found in violation. So what leads the county to believe they're ever going to do what the county wants? They had to be fined again, and even after that, for 500 to 700 hours, they kept working. So why does the county think that this family's ever going to work with them? And we have to take the brunt of that. We have to be the people who stand by and try to follow the law. They should have to immediately take everything out of that low-lying area. They have never permitted. They didn't permit. All they permitted for the 6 trees they got rid of, but they haven't permitted for any of their other work. Why would the county then, since 2018, give them an opportunity to try to work with them when clearly they just wanted to do whatever they felt they needed and with disregard for all their neighbors?
That's our recommendation, is they work with us on the land alteration permit this time.
Yes, but we want them to reverse it. We want them to reverse it because we're taking on water and it's affecting our assets. We have the same value as they do. We should not have to take on extra water because they don't want water on their property. Mr. Sweat had to put a retention pond on his property. The Crowdies reported them. He should have to put a retention pond on his property and take the water that he naturally gets. We're happy to take the water that naturally goes to our property, but they've enhanced that by putting these drains that go underground to our properties. It's just a sneaky way to get water to our property. And it is affecting our land, and it's affecting the value of our property, because now we have a lot more water on our property rather than land.
Thank you, ma'am.
Is there anyone else who wants to speak? If someone else wants to speak, please come up. Raise your right hand, please. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
And state your name and address.
My name is Amy Brennan with the law firm of Manson, Bulvis, Donaldson Barn, 109 North Brush Street, Tampa, Florida, 33601.
Thank you.
I just want to take a brief moment to summarize Ms. Nakanishi's comments and her concerns. As she has stated, this issue with the Crowdies property has been going on for quite some time with Hillsborough County.
I'm sorry, Counselor.
And they are very,
Counselor, can you tell me who you represent? I'm sorry, is it which property owner are you?
Miss Nakanishi and Mr. McDowell.
The testimony that was just received?
Yes.
You're doing additional testimony for the same people that just were there?
Just giving a very brief summary statement for them, yes.
Go ahead, Counselor.
Thank you. This has been going on for quite some time. They are very concerned that what is actually in the ground is not permittable and is going to continue to cause flooding for their property. They do not want extra time for the Crowdies to comply. The staff recommendation, I believe, gives an adequate period of time for the Crowdies to work with the county. And they want to have some assurance that if the Crowdies are not able to obtain a permit or articulate what is actually in the ground and what has been done, that they will be required to remediate what they have done on their property so that the Nakanishi and McDowell property is no longer being flooded. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Good morning. Are you also, sir?
No, ma'am.
Okay, raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, ma'am.
And state your name and address.
My name's Edward Werner. My address is 3435 Mayday Drive, Plant City. I also represent Midway Investment Company, which owns the parcel, downflow parcel, which neighbors Dr. McDowell's property and the Crowdies property. The three of us have an intersection where all three are together. I wanted to provide a little perspective and address one or two issues that are of concern, and also support Dr. McDowell's position to some degree. I do believe the water flow has been exacerbated by the work that was done in French draining in regards to the Crotty property. But let me start off by saying we developed the property that is now occupied by Dr. McDowell's home site. So I'm familiar with the area going all the way back to 1997. I built my house in that area in 1994 to 96. Our family's owned property out there since the 1930s. So my knowledge of the flooding and the drainage in that area is as good as you can get anecdotally, and is a longer duration than any of the other parties involved so far. I have communicated some information to Krista Hull, and I appreciate being able to collaborate and trying to solve the problem. Be advised, I know Mr. Crotty intimated that the flooding is a new situation since 2019, and I'd like to severely correct that impression. In fact, I have correspondence and/or memos in my files as early as 2003 indicating that there was flooding, severe flooding at the Crotty home at that time. That predates the construction of McDowell's house. It was severe. It was a wet year. The following year in 2004, there was some cooperative culverts put in place trying to get the water to get out of that area. But at that time still, the retention to the west of Crotty's home was still probably 3/4 of an acre in size and much deeper than it is now. I learned today that apparently they dug it deeper but then filled it with gravel as part of a French drain project. One of the things that I'd like to address, particularly, I believe it was James Roush was discussing the French drains. I suspect they did have some effect. I did witness and watch portions of them being dug in the last 6 months. I walked Avenue B at that time and briefly took a short look. What they were doing was trying to divert some of the water that's coming to the house from the south as it's making its way northward towards their back area where their pool is. And they were diverting some of that water eastward, whereas historically it either approached their house or it would have naturally gone to the west around the house through the depression that's been mentioned. Well, as that water is diverted to the east, what is happening is it's diverting it to the east faster, natural seepage. It's getting it over to Avenue B, and then it's running down Avenue B like a racehorse until it gets to that intersection where you saw the culvert picture was. That water needs to get out of there without getting onto Dr. McDowell's property. That water never would have gone to Dr. McDowell's property prior to this French drain installation. I think the inspectors mentioned that they got there and it looked like that drain was functioning. Well, we're talking about a drain that was put in without a permit to move water eastward rather than its natural motion to the westward to a former depression area. I recognize the flooding is a serious problem. I have pity for the Crottys. I applaud them. He said he spent $27,000 now doing some work. We've been begging him a time or two over correspondence to please hire an engineer or get with a lawyer that would communicate with us so that we could work cooperatively. But in all those years, he's never hired an engineer. Instead, he just came out and did what he thought was best. I appreciate the initiative, but I sure wish he'd spent some of that money on an engineer who would have planned for the outfall of these French drains. Right now, what we've got is we've got water being French drained two different directions, one on the north side of the house, get it away from his driveway, and to the south side of his house, get it to the east. That is going to be a problem. It is going to hurt. It is already hurting Midway Investment Company's property, and it's hurting what could be Avenue B in the future if ever it was further developed. But I want to make clear, getting that water to the east should not mean getting that water to the north. It needs to get to the east. That was the natural flow of water forever. In 2003, when we were all cooperating a little better, we did do a valley ditch across Midway Investments land, trying to get the water the heck out of there. It really doesn't fill up except in a heavy deluge rain, like a hurricane event or a 4 to 5 inch rain. But that water needs to get out of there. What's happening now is it's backing up. And I know Mr. Crotty mentioned that it was somehow the fault of the culvert work done by Dr. McDowell 1 year ago and change. That culvert work was permitted, it was engineered, and it was installed in cooperation with the county before it was put in place. That was a good improvement. Sadly, it doesn't seem to have made the effect that the parties would hope for. But I would urge the county, don't believe just face value, that this is a brand new situation somehow created by the McDowells or created by some phantom incident that occurred. The flooding out here on that Crotty property has been there since that house was built. And it needs to be solved, but it needs to be engineered. The outfall for these French drains needs to go east in such a way that doesn't cost Midway Investment Company money, and it gets it east far enough so that we get it out of there. It's going to happen no matter what they say, even if you redug the retention pond that they had in the 2000s, early 2000s, before they began filling it in. But still, they're going to have a flooding problem. They've always had a flooding problem. That is not a new problem. They didn't create it. They didn't build that house. That house was built. They bought it. That's why I say I have pity for them. But if you're going to spend big money on land development and moving water around, get a hydrology engineer, get together with the county, get that water out from its northward flow now, because it's hurting Dr. McDowell's house in a way that is a brand new thing. Available for questions if there are. I've shared some information with county staff. I appreciate your working. And be careful not to buy into the, while I have pity for them, they seem to want to engender pity a great more than they have sympathy for others.
Oh, Mr. Turner, can I ask you a question since you have a good historical understanding of these properties? The county has elevation that is coming from the historical cliff mud aerials and other county aerials. The aerials were added based on our engineer's understanding of the lay of the land and the surface water flows. Do you want to critique this in any form?
Actually, it's the first time I've seen it. One thing I like about that is true. If you see that one arrow that's going straight to the depression that's labeled 116, 118, dead center.
Yeah, 118.
There's one arrow showing going in there. That arrow has been somewhat disrupted, or that depression is no longer as large as it once was. It is true that the Crotties have filled it with lawn debris and mulch. I understand they did some French draining now to try to make it more useful to their purposes. But that arrow is true. In general, almost all the water flowing from my homestead is the 5-acre parcel dead center at the bottom of that picture.
Bottom.
You can see a 5-acre home site to the south and slightly to the west of the Crotties parcel.
Okay.
Water from there.
Where it says 142? Okay.
Water from there does not flow a whole lot to the northeast. It flows almost entirely eastward. And then there's the strawberry field we used to have in Tree Farm, and then prior to that was in citrus, and prior to that was in cattle pasture. To the east of there, that begins its slightly eastward flow. But if you look at the size of the wetland there to the east, you can see it's pretty much a north-south wetland. And the topography is kind of an east-northeastward flow. That seems to be accurate. We did some upland ditching to divert some of the water away from the intersection of Avenue B and Mayday Drive. And that's what they were referring to about some of the culvert placements later. But at that time, we did a valley gutter ditch that was probably no more than 18 inches deep and maybe 5 feet wide, like a cow ditch, to get that water to move a little bit southward before it hit towards the wetland. That was prior to the massive disagreement that has been brewing since.
Okay.
There was more cooperation in years past between the parties than certainly there is now. But I want to reiterate, I can personally attest to what's happening in the Dr. McDowell's property is a new thing. Whereas what has been happening on the Crotty parcel is a 20-something-year-old problem. More so, really. Sandy and Mike Ring built that house, and they had flooding in it before they sold it. But they lost it to foreclosure, and then I believe the Crotty's interest was purchased 99, I believe it was. And I pity them because they're having a problem. Anyway, any other questions?
No, sir. The magistrate may have some, so hold on.
I do not. Thank you very much for your testimony.
You're welcome, and good luck.
Okay, Ms. Hall, based on that testimony, if there isn't any other testimony, I ask my question again in regards to your timelines.
We got someone that holding their hand up, excuse me.
Oh, okay.
Ms. Crotty wants to speak again?
Okay.
Magistrate, Ms. Crotty here. I'm sorry, I do not want to, I know Mr. Ed Werner has been a resident longer than I have, but when we bought our house in 1999, May of 1999, we did not have any flooding until 2003, when trucks did break down the road because of their backing along the edge of the property. Ron Storms came out and fixed that. Water flowed off our property very nicely to the north, to the vacant property that Mr. Werner owned. We had no problems until Mr. Werner and Mr. McDowell, without our permission, put in 2 unpermitted culverts and Avenue B. We didn't find out that those 3 things, the 2 unpermitted culverts and Avenue B, were unpermitted until Ms. Gomez told us this a year and a half ago. When we reported that as unpermitted, as nuisance, because Hurricane Irma had taken down trees, we had nothing to do with those trees going down. This was way prior to us doing anything. In fact, when Mr. McDowell or Miss Nagahashi, or whatever her name is, said that we caused her down trees, we got Mr. Werner's permission to pump the water from the front of our property, from the west side, because it was a hurricane, to his property on Midway Gardens. We had his permission to pump the water into Midway Gardens property. We didn't pump it into there. We just pumped it across the front of our property. And I have pictures of that pumping. And all we did was pump it across our driveway. We didn't pump it across the backside of our land. We just pumped it across the front. And then Mr. McDowell's wife complained, and we stopped.
Go ahead, Brian.
Ms. Crotty, I understand what you're saying, and I understand the testimony of all the folks. My question to you is, based on the testimony that you've given, that your husband's given, and the other folks in the neighborhood, do you have any causes or for concern in regards to the steps and the requirements that the county is asking for you to take? I mean, I feel like this is a situation where we've got cart before the horse, right? And my understanding from your testimony was that you guys are more than willing to go through the process to have pay for the topo survey, which will also show the impact of the neighboring properties when it's done properly, and go through the process with the county. Are you okay with that, to make sure that that's been done correctly, or are you?
Realize when we realized when Mr. Roush came out yesterday that we should have had a permit to do the French drains. He said they will put in properly. We are willing to get the permit after the fact. We have no problem in doing that. I beg your permission to get that done. We will get it done. Please let us get that done so that we can do that. We'll get it done. It was done properly. We are not pumping it didn't go onto the McDowell property. Our worker can attest to that, and it didn't go onto the right of way at all. It's ended on our property. It's not forcing water onto the McDowell property. Nothing. I don't know.
I understand.
The idea that it is.
The purpose here is that we're going to go through the process. We're going to have the folks come out and look and inspect it and make sure that what needs to be done is done and done properly in regards to your parcel. Obviously, there's issues outstanding with neighbors and driveways and roads and those kind of things, which I'm hoping as a part of this process will all be looked at. It sounded like Ms. Hull was already looking at other parcels as well. So I think all around, we're going to get this taken care of as a whole. So if you're willing to do those kind of things and go through the process, then I'm okay with that.
We have been trying for 2.5 years to get this corrected. Yes. We want it corrected. Yes.
I understand.
Sir.
Yes.
Please.
Okay. Thank you.
I'm willing to work with whoever it takes.
I understand. And I appreciate your heartfelt testimony. Thank you very much.
Ms. Crotty, earlier you showed some pictures, and we're going to need to keep those pictures if you could get them out and give them to Faith here.
If I could just interject one.
You'll need to come over to the microphone.
You'll have to, yes.
I was the gentleman that just did the work. I heard the testimony.
So you're the one I should be talking to about Nettie getting it permitted.
Name?
Douglas Young.
Douglas Young?
Yes, ma'am. It was that the drains go onto their property and into their property, and that's false testimony. I put it in their French drain style. It's a drain pipe inside rock, underground, level back out. All I did was expand the swales a little bit to allow water to flow off of their property. They stated that there's a lot of water on their property. The only photo I saw that they provided was a photo of the cow pasture. The water flows into the cow pasture. That's not their photo. That's not their property. I had many photos and videos of the McDowell property in a heavy rain, just a rainstorm, not a hurricane, not a tropical storm, but just a heavy rainstorm where their property has water all over it and is flooded horribly. On the McDowell property, doesn't even so much as have a puddle.
Mr. Young,
driveway.
Mr. Young, excuse me. Mr. Young, do you have any testimony that's in addition to or changes in regards to what we've already heard? If you're reinforcing it, I totally understand, and I appreciate you saying that, but I mean, we've been going at this for 40 some odd minutes. So it sounds like the homeowner for which you did the work is understanding of the process, understands cart before the horse, and is willing to go through the permitting process to get done what she needs to get done. If you have other questions or concerns or that you'd like to share, I'd be happy
to state the fact that some of the testimony about the piping onto their property and forcing water onto their property is incorrect.
But sir, I understand that in regards to what we're dealing with here today, that really doesn't impact my decision one way or another. It's he said, she said, it's issues on the property and off the property. Right now, what I'm dealing with is trying to determine on whether or not the landowner is going to go through the process so that the county can come out and properly do and take a look at what's been done and determine whether that is proper or needs to be modified and how that impacts the rest of the neighborhood.
Sure.
Okay, Ms. Hull, can you put the staff's recommendations back up and then let me know what you have in regards to timelines here.
You've heard everybody in regards to wanting 60 days, wanting 30 days, getting the application and everything. He's already had a contractor that has done the work. I would hope that they could assist them in getting it all done. I would like to stay with 30 days, but you've heard their plea. So I'll leave it to you, Mr. Magistrate.
Okay, all right, I'm ready to move in this case. I move in case L 185118 that based on the evidence presented and the violation history, I grant, based on staff's recommendation, I grant, I request that the owner submit a natural resources permit application to address the land alteration activities on the property within 45 calendar days. to include in the application a topo survey depicting spot elevations within the project area and a detailed site plan including information about the fill, piping system, and other surface water control measures installed within the property. I also require that they obtain a natural resources permit after receipt of that application within 60 calendar days to finalize any stormwater requirements of the permit within 60 calendar days. Or the other option would be to remove all fill materials and restore the natural grades within 60 calendar days. Failure to meet any of those timelines, as previously mentioned, result in a fine of $250 per day.
Sure.
So moved. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Next case, please.
Okay, just a moment. Okay. Number 6 on this page that we're already on, case number L174704, complied on September 28, 2020. Page 5, number 8, case number L195601, the owner is Henry Robertson Jr., location 316 Indian Drive. We have service and no one is present.
Krista Hall with the Development Services Department. This is case L195601. Property owner and violator is Henry Robertson Jr. Violation address is 15316 Indian Head Drive, Tampa. Violation is unpermitted land alterations and disposal of fill materials that alters surface waters in a floodplain area. Ordinance violated is section 4.01.03, first inspection July 30th, 2019. First notice July 31st, 2019. Last inspection was September 11th, 2020. 3 inspections total. Mr. Wayne Doyne went to the property on July 30th, 2019. Identified some land alteration activities, filling a patio area, which was blocking the drainage from adjacent property owners. These activities occurred in a floodplain, which requires permitting.
One moment, Krista.
Yes.
Will the parties in the room that are speaking, please take it outside? Hello? Thank you.
Did you catch that, magistrate?
Yes, I did. Is this the same picture from the same direction? We've got a wood fence on the right and we've got a chain link fence on the left. Is it?
Inspector Wayne Doyne online, it could speak up and assist on these photos, please.
Inspector Wayne, good morning.
Good morning, how you doing?
Outstanding, sir. Thanks for hopping in.
Wayne Doyne, Hillsborough County Natural Resources Environmental Inspector. Yes, these are 2 different property lines. The one on the left is the main issue. The complainant lives on the other side of that, left side of property. What happened is it's been a neighborly dispute for a while now, and Mr. Robinson closed up the swale that was there that's supposed to lead back to his pond and said he made it angling over their property by their new garage to their pond. The other side is just showing the flooding on the other side of his property, and he built that driveway up that high.
Installing the pavers is causing flooding on the right side where the fence line is?
Yeah, he was having issues on that side too. That's been remedied since then. It's mainly just the left side. He did put some new drain pipes in when he redid his driveway because he built a new house. So when he redid the drain pipes at the middle of the driveway that goes to the left side, it did take care of the flooding on the right side of the property. The biggest complaint now is the left side, and we've been going at this for a while now.
Yeah, sometimes gone. Understand.
And since then, he has finished his landscaping. He's finished everything for building the house. He's had an engineer involved this whole time, a lawyer involved. And I think we're on to an understanding now. And Krista can explain more on that.
Mr. Brickemeyer, the attorney, supporting this, Mr. Robertson, in regards to getting his permit together. One of the improvements they need to do has to go into the wetland setback, and they needed to have EPC's approval. So they've been working with EPC to get the delineation done properly. My understanding is that application is almost ready to be submitted to the county. I talked to Brickelmeyer about a couple of weeks ago, and he said they were almost done. I told him about the presentation, and he didn't think there would be any problem with the staff's recommendation being met. This is the last inspection photo that's on the screen right now that Wayne took on September the 11th. So my understanding is they've done some of it, but not all of it, Wayne?
No, all they did now, they haven't started any of it yet. The original, there's a portion of the original swale left, but then it hits like a raised section on his property, so it jets to the other neighbor, which has been trying to protect their property.
Permit is going to allow for them to finish their improvements, to do the floodplain compensation, which is required for working in a floodplain. So let me move on to the staff recommendation.
Sure.
The county requires Mr. Robertson to submit a compliant tree natural resources permit application to address the disposed fill materials and stormwater requirements for the land alteration on the property within 30 calendar days. The following items must be included in the application: the submittal of a professional engineer's plan or a certified floodplain manager's report, provide an as-built plan of the final grade elevations, obtain the permit after receipt of the application within 60 calendar days, finalize the requirement of the permit within 60 calendar days, and add any fines for failure to meet these timeframes.
Okay, it sounds like we've got good communication with the owner, so no concerns in regards to timeframes?
That's correct.
Okay, fantastic. I move in case L195601 that based on the evidence presented and the violator's history, I concur with staff's recommendations, which have temporarily fallen off of the screen.
And put the recommendations back up. There you go.
Thank you. Sorry, I should have memorized them. I concur with staff's recommendations and order the violator to submit a compliant natural resources permit application to address disposed fill materials and stormwater requirements for the land alterations on the property within 30 calendar days. Following items must be included in the application: to submit a professional engineer's plan or a certified floodplain manager's report, and to provide an as-built plan of the final grade elevations, or obtain a natural resources permit after obtain a natural resources permit after receipt of the application within 60 calendar days. And then to finalize requirements of the permit within 60 calendar days. Failure to meet any of these timelines results in a daily fine of $200 per day.
Next case is number 9, case number L195651. The owner is Heidi McKnight. The violator is Stephen C. Sawyer, doing business as Sawyer Tree Trimming. Location 5909 81st Street. We have service and no one is present.
Krista Hall with the Development Services, case L195651. Property owner Heidi McKnight. Violator is Stephen Sawyer, doing business as Sawyer Tree Service. Violation address is 5909 South 81st Street. Violation observed is unpermitted removal of one laurel oak tree measuring 30 inches DBH. Ordinance violated is section 4.01.03. First inspection, August 27th, 2019. First notice, August 29th, 2019. Last inspection, September 29th, 2020. 2 inspections. The inspector went onto the property, and at the time he found that the tree was already missing. And he spoke with Heidi McKnight, and she explained that she had hired a tree company. The tree was starting to lose branches and was in poor condition. They told her that it could be taken down. She was not aware that they didn't do a permit. While they did the work, they started causing damage to her property, and she got very concerned about it, contacted us about it. She showed us what the tree looked like before, what the tree looked like after. It should have had a permit, and we advised her that we would pursue the tree company in regards to it. She told us that her anxiety was too difficult to deal with to come to a hearing, and we are just pursuing the tree company in this situation. Last inspection showed that the stump is still out there. No improvements have been made to the property. The tree company has not contacted us in regards to resolving this matter, but they have been notified of this case. The county is recommending that the tree company submit a compliant tree restoration or contribution agreement for 30 inches of trees within 30 calendar days, complete restoration or contribution to the fund within 60 calendar days from receipt of the approved agreement. The violator, Stephen Sawyer, is responsible for resolving this matter with the county, and the property owner shall be removed from the violation.
Brian, I believe you're on mute.
Thank you. No one's present, correct?
That is correct.
Thank you. I move in case L 195651 that based on the evidence presented in the staff's presentation and the violator's history, I concur with staff's recommendation and require the violator to submit a compliant tree restoration and/or contribution agreement for 30 dBH inches of trees within 30 calendar days, to complete restoration and/or contribution to the restoration fund within 60 calendar days from receipt of approved agreement. Violator Stephen Sawyer, DBA Sawyer Tree Trimming, is responsible for resolving this matter with the county, and the property owner shall be removed from the violation. Any of these timelines not met, a fine of $150 a day be assessed.
Sir. That concludes the agenda.
Oh, terrific. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Ms. Meyer, do we need to approve minutes before we adjourn?
We didn't send any minutes. Okay, we didn't.
You didn't send me any, so I can't really approve them, but I was just mentioning it just to. You're right.
Make sure anything that we have gets on the next hearing.
Next agenda, that's fine. No problem. Based on that, not hearing anything further, I move to adjourn. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
All right.
All right, yay. We'll see you next time. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Appreciate your time.